Gombo, beautiful people, and welcome back to Espresso Talk Today, the Black Empowerment podcast show where we dive deep into the real and raw realities of confronting the chaos of living Black in predominantly white spaces. Today's predominantly white space is the healthcare system. And we're going to talk about something incredibly important and a little bit difficult and disturbing. Preparing for and managing racial chaos when you seek medical care. We're talking about medical racism. But you have the power in today's episode. You will learn ways to use it. I want to get started. I am your host, Ama Robin. And today, we're diving into this critical conversation that can help you to calm, control, and curb the racial chaos in healthcare. And I'm sipping my turmeric cinnamon pepper coffee for today's uncommon show. Before we dive into today's topic, make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this podcast with your fam, your friends, your crew, your community. Let's spread awareness and build this movement together. For the past few episodes, we have been discussing what racial chaos looks like in the healthcare system and how to recognize the red flags. Today I'm going to switch gears and we're going to talk about what you can actually do about it, how to protect your health, speak up, and confront this chaos in ways that empowers you. And I have a very special segment towards the end for my young Black listeners who might feel nervous, afraid, or even intimidated when they go to the doctor. Trust me, I get it. Absolutely. We've all had those moments where the medical system feels cold, unwelcoming, and even hostile. But I want you to know that your voice matters and you have the power to protect yourself. So today we're going to break it all down. Practical steps, mindset shifts, and how to use your voice to advocate for your health. Now, grab that espresso or tea. Tea drinkers are welcome here too. And close that door behind you. We're going to get deep and we're going to get real. And I hope that y'all are ready for this. Aquaba, my dear brothers and sisters and beloved gender neutral and gender nonconforming folks, I am so glad that we're all here together to discuss this topic. So let's start with why it's so important to speak up in healthcare settings, especially when you're dealing with racial chaos. Honestly, this is not obvious. But first, know this. Your health is your priority. No one knows your body better than you. If something feels off, trust your instincts. Healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, specialists, practitioners, everyone are there to help you. But they can only do so when you communicate openly. Speaking up isn't about being difficult. It's about taking care of your health. And let's be real. The healthcare system doesn't always have your best interests at heart, so it's crucial to be your own advocate. Now, I know that many of us worry about being labeled as difficult or pushy for asking questions, especially when you're a young person. But anytime, we don't want to be labeled as difficult or pushy, and honestly, I've taken a peek in my file and I have been labeled as that. But that's not me, that's them. And listen, a good healthcare provider will welcome your questions. If a doctor or nurse dismisses you simply from wanting to understand what's happening, that's a red flag and that's their problem, not yours. Let's just do a quick example. Okay, let's say you go to the doctor with severe chest pain. You know something's not right, but the doctor brushes it off saying, it's probably just stress. Now, meanwhile, a white patient with similar symptoms is immediately sent for an EKG. That's not okay. You have every right to demand further investigation. That doesn't make you difficult. That doesn't make you hostile. If they're not open to that, that makes them difficult and possibly hostile. So, how do you prepare for these situations? How do you confront this racial chaos in real time? Step 1, find a culturally competent doctor. First up, yeah, that's right. Find a culturally competent doctor. I know this isn't always easy, especially when you're depending, on where you live or your healthcare network, but it's worth the effort. Look for doctors who have experience with Black patients who are Black or who are trained in cultural competence. And definitely, if you find one that says, all Black people have high blood pressure, then you haven't found that one. Okay, that's a red flag that you are not dealing with a culturally competent doctor. But many hospital websites now list doctors' specializations and areas of cultural competence, and especially, too, another way is the network. When I lived in Hawaii, there was the Aloha Network. Talk to your friends and your family and people who have dealt with doctors or other practitioners or hospitals, and you found them very sensitive and listening and caring and culturally competent. It's worth the effort. This can make a big difference in how you're treated and how you're heard during your appointments. And if you can't find one, don't worry. Okay? I know it is hard to find one, but if you can't, don't worry. The other steps that I'm about to share will help you to navigate the system, even if you cannot handpick your provider. Now, before we get to these next steps, these next empowering steps, do you know what it's time for? That's right, you guys know me. Our first breather break. And this gives us a chance to breathe for a minute. When things get intense, I like to breathe. I hope you do too. I will see you in a moment. And y'all know I love this song. So I'm going to enjoy my coffee while I listen to this music. I'll see you in a minute.
Turn me up in the headphone. Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and vomit my nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles.
Aquaba back, dear community, and thanks for staying in the building with me. Let's get straight to the next thing that you can do, because yes, you have the power. Number 2, use the brain system. Use your brain. That's right, B.R.A.I.N. Now, this is not one of those things where your mama or daddy is saying, hey, use your brain, think. No, this is something that's much more empowering, and it's much more straightforward. Let's do it. Okay. The brain system. This is a great tool to help you stay calm and focused when making medical decisions. Here's how it breaks down. Okay, B, benefits. Ask the doctor, what are the benefits of this treatment or decision? That's right. And think about that yourself. What are the benefits of getting this treatment? R, risks. What are the risks involved? I found that many times doctors will talk about the benefits, but they won't talk about the risks. And the risks have to be balanced. And let's face it, every procedure, every medicine, they all have a risk. You want to know what they are. Okay, you want to know what they are before you do it. Third, A, alternatives. Are there any alternative treatments? Actually, in general, the answer is going to be yes. But often we're not presented with the alternatives. And this can range anything from, surgery, a different kind of medicine, an alternative kind of non-allopathic medicine, or treatment. And those can be very useful too. You want to know what your alternatives are. And sometimes your healthcare practitioner, they'll tell you what the alternatives are. I mean, they'll tell you, but they may have a limited range. So sometimes this is a chance when you have to do your own research and do your own work and talk to other people. Wow, that's right. I remember when I was supposed to get, meniscus surgery on my knee, of course, meniscus. And I thought, wow, I sure don't want to get surgery. And I talked to a friend who's also a jogger, and she told me about PRP therapy. And this was a non-surgical intervention therapy, but it involved injecting, platelets into my knee. And guess what? My knee is doing so well, and it was less painful. There was no recovery time, but my doctor did not initially tell me about this. So I needed to know the alternatives, and that alternative was told to me by a friend. Intuition. What does my gut tell me about this option? You got to listen to your inner wisdom, and only that comes from you, from within, from your spirituality, your ancestors, your angels, whatever. But you know that feeling. If something ain't feeling right, that means maybe you need to dig a little deeper. Back to my meniscus surgery, or that I didn't have, I wasn't feeling good about it. I didn't feel comfortable with it. I tried to make myself think that this is the best way, I'll just get through it. But inside, I knew it wasn't right, and that's what led me to look for alternatives. So trust your intuition. Listen to it. And then the last one, nothing. What happens if I do nothing? What happens if I just decide to wait and see? Now, every doctor will talk about that. Many are not comfortable with it because when they know a plan of action, they want to implement it right away. Others will say, well, yeah, why don't you wait and see what happens? And you got to listen to your intuition on this too. But I got to say, you cannot let fear make this decision for you, because sometimes it's just easier to say, well, I'll just wait and do nothing, and time goes on and on and on, and then you do have fewer options. Though nothing gives you a chance to take a breath, to step back, and to make a non-hurried decision. And it's a very powerful tool too. Sometimes doing nothing is doing a whole lot. Okay, so the brain system, using your brain. Now, if you didn't get all this down, that's okay. It's on my website, and you can go there and look it up. Or if you want to sign up for my newsletter, it's there too. And this brain system really does work. And I got to say, it works in other non-medical situations too. We can always use our brain, right? This method does empower you to make an informed decision, and it shows your healthcare provider that you're engaged and that you expect answers. You're not just passively accepting what they say. You're an active participant in your health. Now, it doesn't really matter what they think, but you have to know that you are actively participating in your health and in the decisions that are being made about your health. The next one. Now, this may seem obvious, but sometimes it isn't. Speak up and ask questions. Yes, that's right. This one is critical. But when you encounter dismissive or biased behavior from healthcare providers, you have to speak up. I know it can feel intimidating, especially when you're young, but this is your health on the line. So be assertive, but respectful in communications. Speak, but also listen. For example, you can say, look, I'm concerned about this symptom and I would like to explore it further. Or can you explain why this treatment is being recommended over others? Those are all legitimate ways to approach. But try not to care so much about what they're thinking, because as we said earlier, people are going to enter this with biases and stereotypes, and sometimes medical professionals do not want to be questioned. But their job is to answer your questions. Okay, and if you're not getting the answers that you want to hear or that you need, or you're not getting your questions answered, then you do need to speak up. And this is another great opportunity to have a support person there with you or a patient advocate. So tips for speaking up, prepare this in advance when you are prepared. And I mean prepare like practice it. Practice this out loud. Practice having these conversations. Practice them out loud. Picture them, visualize them. Even have a friend go through it with you. Have the friend be the healthcare provider, and you are, of course, and you practice out this whole scenario. But also it helps to write down your symptoms, your questions, your concerns before your appointment. Write down, the B.R.A.I.N system, the B.R.A.I.N system. And this will help to keep you focused and ensure that you don't forget important points when emotions run high. And that is a very common thing to happen. And many healthcare professionals kind of use that vulnerability to take control of a situation when in fact the control should be yours. Okay, another one. Let's see. I have a whole list here, but I don't want to bore you with a lot of them because I'm going to put this list onto the website anyway, but I want to briefly mention, document everything. Yes, here's the lawyer in me coming out. Document everything that happens, and don't think if it's too small to write it down anyway, because sometimes it may make it it may end up being a really big deal. So always keep a record of your healthcare interactions. Write down what was said, what was recommended, and what was denied. This documentation can serve as valuable evidence if you need to report discriminatory treatment later on, but it also helps you to track your symptoms and care over time. Now, you guys know that I get migraines, and I'm told to document, when I get the migraine, how did it come up, how did it come on, how long did it last, what were my symptoms, how was I feeling emotionally, physically, and how did the medicine work? Did the medicine work for me or did it not? And if I had any interactions with my doctor, I would write that down too. I know it's tempting to say, oh, I'm never going to forget this. No way am I going to forget that this happened or how I felt. You will. So you have to write it down. And it's great to have this kind of a record. I say this, from my legal background, but I say this also as a person with a chronic health condition. And I say this as a person who's dealt with, healthcare providers and healthcare providers who were biased and, discriminatory. Oh, let's call them racist. Okay, let's just say it. Okay, I've mentioned this next one before. Bring a support person. Don't ever go through this alone. Not any step of it if you're able. And it doesn't have to be, okay, let me back up. You can use a professional, a patient advocate. Hospitals provide those. I found them to be variable. Some have been great, others have been completely useless. And I didn't know they were useless until after the interaction, after the situation, and I found that, they didn't really help at all. But you can use a patient advocate, a professional one that's connected with the hospital. There are organizations that have patient advocates, and they can go with you. Or you can bring a support person to be your advocate. That person can be a friend, a family member, just someone that you just know, not casually. It has to be someone that you really trust and someone who's going to speak up for you, who's going to ask the difficult questions and listen to the answers and push if they need to and be there for you. They'll be there for you to recognize when things may be getting a little bit overwhelming for you or a little bit difficult for you, and they can be a support for you. It's so important to never be in this, healthcare journey alone, if that's possible. Whether it's a friend or family member or patient advocate, having someone by your side really can make that world of difference. They can ask questions and keep track of information. And I know that my parents always told me never go to the doctor alone. I didn't understand it until I did. And After that, I always go. And everyone in my family goes with someone. Okay, let's see. And another obvious one, but it doesn't always happen. Report discriminatory behavior. You know, often when we face bias or discrimination, and I've done this myself, I'm angry, I'm upset, but then I leave, I go home, and I tell other people. I tell my friend or family member, or tell someone. But you know what I don't do? I don't report it to the proper authorities. That's someone at the hospital. That could be someone at that could be at a professional organization like the AMA, American Medical Association, or the NMA, the National Medical Association, which is the Association for Black Healthcare Professionals. So report the discriminatory behavior. If you encounter racism, overt racism, or biased treatment, report it. It's so important to have that data. This can lead to accountability and potential changes within the healthcare system. Contact the healthcare provider's patient advocate, the state medical board, or the Office of Civil Rights to file a complaint. Maybe it won't change anything with your case, but it adds to the data, and it goes in the doctor's file, and we want that in the doctor's file. Okay? Remember, no more silence, no more going away and just holding it in, or grousing to a friend, which, by the way, no problem with that. Do that too if you need to. But also file an official complaint. Oh, wow, that was a lot of stuff there. So, and I think all of this is so important, but it also shows that we have a lot of power. We often feel very disempowered and unempowered in the healthcare system, but there's a lot that we can do to support ourselves, to support our mental and physical health, and to support each other. Let's take another break here. Let's take a minute to breathe, to think, to stretch, to do some push-ups, to grab some coffee or tea, whatever speaks to your soul. This is important stuff here, but it can be a little overwhelming. And so I'm going to take a minute to breathe. When we return, I have a special message for my young Black audience. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back, dear community. I'm so glad that we're still here together. That's also empowering, isn't it? Okay, I want to get right to it, but you can take another minute to breathe while I just mention this. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to remind everyone about my new hashtag, Believe Black People. Our stories and experiences of racial chaos in the healthcare system are real, valid, and worthy of being heard. Too often, our pain and concerns are dismissed, minimized, or ignored. But our voices matter. Hashtag Believe Black People. When we share our stories, whether it's about medical neglect, bias, or outright discrimination, we're not just speaking out for ourselves, we're speaking out for our entire community. So I'm asking you, whether you're listening as someone who's had these experiences or as an ally, to hashtag Believe Black People. Trust in our words, acknowledge our truths, and support our right to be seen, heard, and treated with respect in every healthcare setting. We deserve the best care, and that begins with believing in our stories. So share our stories and use the Believe Black People hashtag. We hear you. Okay, back to this episode, and Asante Sana for staying with me. Okay, now I want to speak directly to my young audience here. I know that going to the doctor can feel intimidating, especially when the healthcare system doesn't always feel safe. But your feelings are valid, And it's not easy to navigate a system that often dismisses or stereotypes you. I know that firsthand. But you have a voice, and that voice can be your greatest tool for getting the care and respect you deserve. I've experienced with that too. Here's what I want you to know. Yes, you have a right to ask questions. You're not being difficult. You're taking charge of your health. Your intuition and your instincts matter. As I said back in using the brain system, that's the I part. The intuition or instincts. If something doesn't feel right, trust yourself. No one knows your body or what's right for you better than you do. Practice your voice. If it feels overwhelming, prepare before your appointment. Write down your symptoms, concerns, and questions. This keeps you focused and confident. And practice it out loud, not just in your head. You got to hear yourself saying the words out loud. Also, you are worthy of respect. You deserve excellent care, regardless of your age, race, or background. If your healthcare provider makes you feel otherwise, get another person, and remember to report it. Document and report. And here is a big one. It's the last one. It's the big one. You can say no. You can say no. You've got the right to say no. If a doctor or nurse isn't treating you with respect, it's okay to request another provider or seek care elsewhere. If you're not comfortable with the treatment that's recommended or the medications that they want to give you or, whatever that's being offered, you can say no. They can't force anything on you, or just in a very narrow situation, but we're not going to worry about that. But you have the right to say no. It can even be something as little as, something, the doctor says, okay, so it's time for you to get on the scale, and you're feeling like you're having a fat day. Instead of saying, oh, all right, I'll do it. No, if you're really not feeling it, just say no. That's a very small one. But it just shows that at every step, you have the right, you have control over your body, and you have the right to say no. And you don't have to explain why. No is a complete sentence. Well, I hope that part was helpful, and I don't mean to be pejorative or talk down to my young Black audience. I know how it's felt as a young Black person being at the doctor or being in the healthcare system, and that you don't always get the respect that you deserve. I know I didn't. I didn't get taken seriously. I didn't know what my power was. I didn't know about documenting and reporting, and I for darn sure didn't know about saying no. So that's why I wanted to do that special section that focused on the needs of my young Black audience. And if you ever want to ask me a question, feel free to DM me. I'm here for you. This is a community, and no one goes it alone. Well, I have finished my espresso, and that is a reminder to me that it's time to wrap this up. And remember, I'm going to wrap this up with, at the end, what I did at the beginning. At the beginning was maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago. Black health is Black empowerment. Your health is your empowerment. Speaking up for yourself in the healthcare system is an act of reclaiming your power. The healthcare system it's not perfect, let's just say it, far from it. But you have the right and the power to demand the care and respect that you deserve. And often that care and respect is handed over on a silver platter to some, and it's a struggle and a fight for others to get it. So I'm sorry if you have to do that struggle, if you have to fight for it. But please make the effort, but don't do it alone. Have a support person with you. In this is actually kind of the end of my Black Health is Black Empowerment section. I wanted to focus on that for just that 1 month, but I talked about Black health and Black empowerment all through the year. So asante sana for joining me on Espresso Talk Today on this journey where we've talked about some really difficult things about the racial chaos that we experience in predominantly white spaces and in the healthcare space in particular. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your family and your friends, your community, your tribe, your crew, anyone. Let's keep building this circle of knowledge, empowerment, and support together. And remember, racial chaos in the healthcare system is not just about individual doctors or nurses. It is part of a larger systemic issue. But by recognizing it and confronting it, we can take back control of our healthcare and our power. And please share your stories and experiences about racial chaos in the healthcare system using the Believe Black People hashtag. Remember, hashtag Believe Black People. No more silence. If you want to keep discussing or reading about these issues, then please subscribe to my weekly Black Empowerment newsletter, The No Mo Beat. We discuss lots of different issues here. Get your dose of Black empowerment and liberation every single week. There's never a dull moment, but there are lots of powerful, uplifting, and liberating moments. You can subscribe at the Espresso Talk Today website at espressotalktoday.com or on Instagram at Ama Robin L. That's Ama, A-M-A, _ Robin, R-O-B-I-N, _ the letter L. You can also find us on Facebook at the Espresso Talk Today Black Liberation Lounge. This group is a safe space for us to hold discussions, share thoughts and ideas, feel joy, express sadness, or just be. And you can join us on Instagram, where I hold a live discussion every week. DM me to get the weekly schedule. So join me on Instagram at Ama Robin L. I'm Ama Robin for Espresso Talk Today. And remember, now more than ever, strength, soul, and reparations. Ashe, community.